Hi, I'm Commissioner Mike McKeon. I'd like to welcome everyone to another episode of the Public Works Pipeline. With me today is our Public Works Director, Paul McElhaney. We're here to talk about a lot of sort of summer update issues. We're going to get into paving, refuse, recycling. But before we start on that, I just want to acknowledge that we are in a very bitter ratings battle rather, with Behind the Gavel on LMTV, which is a terrible show. And I'm 100% committed to prevailing in that battle. So thanks for tuning in today. Please tune in for the entire broadcast here because our ratings are critical. This is a big episode for us. So with that, Paul, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I'll do anything to be behind the gavel. As someone who has been on both programs, I think we need to prevail.
Yeah, I know you know this is the superior program, of course. I mean, that
without a doubt, without a doubt.
Goes without saying. So we were going to talk about refuse and recycling first. So just to kind of open up generally, how does our recycling program work?
Our recycling program works simply that we have two different streams. We have our paper stream and we have what we call our commingle stream. Paper, self-explanatory. Commingle are your bottles, your cans, those type of recyclables. Several years ago, we split it up in that you recycle paper 1 week and then the following week your commingle. Before it was every 2 weeks you put out both. For efficiency, we went to the every other week. It took a little bit for the residents to get used to it, but it works out very well for us, especially now with the explosion of cardboard. Everybody's getting everything delivered to their homes, so we needed the space in the trucks. We now need a full truck and able to collect on a day. And trucks will dump sometimes 2-3 times a day. That's how much paper product we're bringing in.
And we have because it's two streams like that, our paper product is cleaner, right? And we can get a little bit better return on it?
Yeah, so essentially we sell the paper. We do very well with it. It's a commodity. Our paper is very clean because it is separated. It's not contaminated by, someone threw a soda can in with it and so forth. So we put it out for bid, and our monthly pricing is based on the commodities market. But that since it's a commodity, if you know about stocks and so forth, they go up and down. So at one point we were receiving $120 a ton for paper. Now we're at about $40 a ton. People may say, well, what does it really matter? That money that we make from that commodity helps keep the cost down to the residents. That keeps that solid waste fee down that people pay, because we have monies coming in. Right,
and the solid waste fee, that's an enterprise fund that's self-funded, so we need to get that money the revenue coming from the recycling to keep the fee down.
Right, well, as you noted, it's self-funding. So essentially it's an enterprise fund. The users pay for all the costs associated. So when a homeowner takes a subscription level and pays for it, what they are doing is paying their part to pay for that service in its entirety. That means that it's not being supported by the general fund.
Right.
All expenses are paid that way. So any money that we can bring in through selling the paper helps offset that cost.
Yeah, and that's something I didn't really appreciate before, but the difference between a fee and a tax. A fee is basically you pay something for a very specific service that you use and you're charged how you use it. We had looked into a possible stormwater fee, and there was a stormwater fee I believe the Borough of Westchester had implemented, and the court overruled it because they said that was tantamount to a tax because it was general based on the size of your property, but it didn't actually get into the what your use
actual
was.
Usage.
Yeah,
yes.
what you were doing, and so the solid waste fee it's based on how many trash cans you use and how much is actually picked up, and if you have more cans, then you pay more.
You pay more. When we have several levels, we have our mini can for those individuals, like a senior citizen that's living by themselves. Then we have our regular rate, which is 2 cans, and then we have our enhanced level for people with our regular refuse.
And it used to be it was like 7 cans, 6 cans, 5 cans.
Yeah, it's been simplified. And back to our with that and our recycling. So we pay for our recycling, our commingle to be dumped. So, and that again kind of is a commodity based. So, we've paid upwards of $90 a ton to get rid of it, and we've been down at one point last year. We were actually getting paid $11 or $12 a ton for it, which, again, that helps, that influences that fee
Right.
that people pay, that solid waste fee. And then you have just our regular trash, and when you pay your fee, you're paying for disposal of that trash. So we figure out on average what it costs to get rid of 2 cans per household per pound.
Right. Yeah. So when you put it all together, so you've got the commingled, which unfortunately we pay to dispose of it, and that's when I say dispose, we have a vendor who's supposed to recycle it, but that stuff can sit on pallets, and then it eventually we hope gets recycled.
Well, if we use an outside vendor, everything gets separated.
Right.
Now, granted, some of it is contaminated, and they may get general trash in it, and that gets thrown out. But they break it down into each of the components. They type 3 plastic, and then they take they charge us, and then they sell that product to different people who then turn it into new products.
And when you say they, who is the vendor that we use now for
right
commingled?
now, our contract's with Mascaro.
And they're out in the Birdsboro, Reading area?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And for paper, we use a company called Newman.
That's in Philadelphia, right?
Yeah, they're our current vendor that buys the paper from us.
Right. So when you put your items out for collection, the commingled ends up going to Birdsboro, and it gets separated, and then they look to sell it to someone else who's going to reuse it. The paper goes to Newman in Philadelphia. We make a profit off of that, and then Newman goes and recycles it. And where's the regular trash go?
Our regular trash goes to the Cavanta plant up in Plymouth Meeting, trash to steam plant. So they take our trash and they produce electricity with it. So sometimes it goes down to their Chester plant, but for the most part we go to Plymouth Meeting. So.
And I know there were concerns about if we should be putting trash in regular trash in landfills and letting it just dispose over time. And I think what the studies have shown is that's very dangerous for the environment because of the emissions from that affect the greenhouse, all the carbon.
Yeah, there was we had asked for a study to be done a little over a year ago, and the opinion came back that they really didn't have an opinion, but they said that there was the trash to steam wasn't bad. So we've continued in that way with the trash to steam. We're constantly looking at other options. If there's something that's better for the environment, cost effective, all those things are always under consideration for us.
And now the kind of the bad news, what we're seeing, the projection for the end of this year, our solid waste fee, those rates have not increased over the last, I think, 3 or 4 years. But part of that was due because of during COVID, the cost for materials increased a lot due to supply chain problems. So we were getting more for our paper, and we were paying less to get rid of our commingled. Now it's changed a little bit, so we may have an increase this year of the solid waste fee for each user. We'll have to deal with that later in the year, but that's in part because of these sort of the changes that we're getting on our recycling returns.
Correct, and like I mentioned earlier, we're constantly looking at those numbers and trying to work. Well, we work with the CFO, and it's kind of like the crystal ball. Where are those numbers going to fall? Is next year we're going to see a great increase in what we have to pay to get rid of our recycling? What does that mean for the solid waste fee? So there's a lot of time and effort that goes into keeping that fee right.
Right.
And making sure that we can provide the best service to the residents at the best price.
And I'm sure many viewers are really at the edge of their seats, like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? We don't have a crystal ball, but what we can say is, in this fall, that's when the solid waste financial forecast will be presented by the Finance Committee. So that's really that's where you'll get we'll see where we're actually going with things.
Right, and then you're the one who gets to say where we're going.
Right, and then when
you
the
and the other 13 members of the board get to make that decision.
So, well, one thing, we usually have the Public Works mailbag. I don't quite have that this time, but I went around my house, I accumulated or picked out some garbage and stuff. I removed the body parts, took out all the alcohol bottles. I don't think that would be appropriate to show either on TV. But
all your recycling products, your jars and so forth, give them a quick rinse. Clean them out.
So this was one that...
well, it looks like you haven't rinsed it, but
right.
Yes, that'll go to the same place. You
so
can throw that with your
rinse it and get rid of it. Okay. This is some people in our house eat healthy. That's not mine. But
cardboard, yes.
Yeah.
again, that's with our paper. That's one of our paper products.
And then
So,
one thing you could do too, right, to make it.
you definitely want to flatten them.
Right.
And if you have numerous boxes, leave one box full, put the rest in, fold them up, make them, because if you drive around the township in the morning, you'll see piles and piles of boxes. That's a lot of work because staff has to put them into the truck. They have to break them down. Break them down, put them in a box. That way they have one box to deal with.
Yeah,
or
break
two
down
boxes. But the piles, please help us help you, because if it takes us more labor to collect the recycling, then we may need more staff or more equipment, and there again affects your fee.
Right, and that's why I hope this is inspirational to the viewers. This is what you want to kind of try to break it down a little bit. Here, this is a literary source or something.
Dictionary.
That's what I heard. That's what people used to carry around in their pockets all day long, because if they didn't know what words were, this is before the iPhone apparently. So I don't.
We've seen some of these being recycled. Now, all kidding aside, books, great medium. If you don't have a use for them, we'll take them as paper recycling.
So you can throw them right in that paper.
Right in the paper, and they'll get recycled and turned into a new book, a new paper towel, something of that nature.
All right, well, we got to take a quick break. Fortunately, we have a few more items left in here, so please stick around. Never watch Behind the Gavel, and we'll be back in a couple minutes. Hi, I'm Commissioner Mike McKeon, and I'd like to welcome everyone back to the Public Works Pipeline. With me here is Public Works Director Paul McElhaney, and we're talking a little bit recycling. So we have 2 aluminum cans here. What can we do with these, Paul?
They go right in our commingle. That'll get recycled. That'll go up to the mascara plant. They'll get crushed. They'll get sold and be recycled.
All right, so we can just do kind of.
Yep, right into the yellow recycling container.
The
right
big
there.
giant yellow recycling vat we have. All right, now what about this guy here?
Again, right in the recycling container, right in that bright yellow container. But with this type of container, a lot of these can go back to the supplier and be reused in that sense. So you may want to turn that back in and get yourself a new gallon or a 5-gallon container.
All right, might not want to throw. I broke enough stuff in the studio, right? Oops. So we've got this here too. I don't know if you're.
The official Harry Potter cloak. I wouldn't recycle that. I'd keep that or sell that off. But yeah, the Harry Potter cloak has to. I'd keep that. I'm going to keep that myself.
Okay. Yeah. So that's just a keeper. If we don't recycle the magic stuff.
Yeah.
All right. This is a map here. I know the commissioners were looking at this because it's Lower Merion, but we were considering trying to invade Narberth with the borough. Can we recycle?
No, unfortunately, this is a plastic wax. You can't recycle this. This is not a recycle.
Because it's waxy.
Yeah,
okay. So if it was a regular paper map or something, then
right
we could
in
recycle it.
If it was paper, it would go right in with your paper.
Okay. I mean, given it's a map of Lower Merion, everyone I would think should frame this and put this in.
You're going to want to keep it
in the foyer or wherever. All right. And looks like last but not least, we have the noble piece of loose leaf.
Yes. I would recommend using it first.
Right.
But when you're done, right in with your paper.
And it would be better to throw if it can be flat instead of crumpled up like a ball.
Correct. Less space.
Less space.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I think that's everything. Here we get to the tape roll too, but I don't know.
I don't know. That's that invisibility cloaking tape. No, we'll keep that.
A lot of magic going on with today's show.
Correct.
All right, so we just talked trash for a little bit. I think we should talk a little sewers now. So we've got the sanitary sewer fund, right? That comes from our as a result of the sewer system.
Yeah, it's an enterprise fund also, self-supporting. Has to be 100% self-supported by the users.
All right, so let's talk about the sewer goes really from the start. Where does our water come from?
Well, our water starts, we don't provide water. That is provided by Aqua America. They provide the water for us. They pull from their sources like the Schuylkill, and they treat it, and then they provide it to our homeowners.
And they're a Lower Merion company too, right? Are they
They're in Bryn Mawr.
In Bryn Mawr.
Their headquarters is in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania.
All right, so the water comes into our homes, and then let's just say we put it in glass or something, and then it goes down the sink. What happens to it from there?
So then, it goes through your drainage, it goes into our sewer mains. Once it goes from our sewer mains, each of those mains works its way into one of our 17 pump stations. The pump stations do nothing more than take that effluent and pump it to the treatment facilities in Philadelphia, which we pay to have the sewage then treated.
So right, because we're in a contract. It was a 35-year contract from 1992 to
2027.
right, and the city of Philadelphia the Philadelphia Water Department treats our water.
Yes, they treat our water. We pay 400 and
Well, because to Philadelphia, they're treating our water. I
right.
guess,
So
yeah.
what we do is the residents, since it's an enterprise fund, they pay $4.51 per 1,000 gallons of water. That money is then part of our payment to the city of Philadelphia for the treatment of our water, of our wastewater. So, and over the years, we as the township have paid for improvements to the treatment facility, those type of things. One of the things that we do also is you'll hear us talk yearly about our slip line program. What we're doing is we're lining our sewer lines, our sewer mains, so that we don't get groundwater into it. So we're not paying to treat groundwater. We're not paying the city of Philadelphia to treat that water. So that's one of the things we do to try to keep the cost down to the homeowners.
Yeah, so I was wondering about that because there's over 16,000, I think, users in Lower Merion for the sanitary sewer rate, and you just see with inflation, with taxes, with costs going up, and we've been able to keep that rate flatlined at $4.51 per 1,000 gallons since 2012. I mean, what is that township staff working to just be as efficient as possible?
Well, it's a combination. A lot of it is on the usage by our homeowners and how much they're using and so forth. But also a lot of it is our being diligent in identifying areas where we see infiltration. And then you'll see the other variable is, do we have a wet spring in summer or do we have a dry spring in summer? Because the wetter it is, the more infiltration we get. But staff is very diligent, and we do a good bit of slip lining every year.
Because other municipalities will pay literally twice as much to get rid of their water, other local ones. So I think it's terrific that we've been able to keep that rate where it is. And we actually voted last night, the Board of Commissioners said, and this is May meeting, to not increase the rate for next year too. So it's nice to be able to keep that there. And you mentioned the water usage. It has varied a little bit, but overall, the users we're really doing a good job, I think. And this is just, everyone in their homes of just using less water. I think the products are better too for, encouraging people to use less. So it's nice.
Right. And the one recommendation I would have is some of our users, our residents have landscaping systems that use water, or they fill their pools or their spas or whatever it may be, their outdoor pools. You can get an auxiliary meter from the water company that we verify, and then you don't get charged that water usage for your sewer bill because that water is not being put into the sewer system. So you can save yourself some money yearly by doing that.
No, that's great. So that's basically, we've talked about our trash now, our sewer now. One of the big things for the summer is paving.
Yes.
What's going on with the paving program now?
So the paving program, early spring, we brought to the board our proposed paving list. What we were looking to do this year was a little lightened because the utilities are not going to be done in certain areas, and we're not going to be able to pave. Last night I presented to the board the contract for the paving this year. And the board has voted unanimously to approve that contract so that we can get underway on our paving program for this summer.
And that contract's with General Asphalt Paving Company. They're going to be the contractor that does most of the paving work.
Yes.
It was approved for a $2.335 million contract, but is that an estimate, or how does that work?
No. So that's the approval of the contract. It's what we call a demands contract in many ways. because along with our base price, we also have, if we need to do additional milling, or if we need, in some instances, we may use a different finish coat because we want it to be more resistant to push, because some of the steep streets we've had pushing of the asphalt. So we have the ability to change some of the specs, and so that price that total contract could go up or down depending on what we need, what our needs
what the
are.
units are, basically.
What our units are and what our needs are. If we decide that one road needs more of the old surface taken out, we'll pay the additional extra for that because we want to get down to a more solid base. There's some of the things that a day to day as we go, we have to make some decisions.
And I looked, the 2023 unit price is $11.96. That's actually down from last year. 2022 was $12.95, and I think that was really the height of the supply chain problems.
That's the highest we've had.
Yeah.
Yes, because between, again, asphalt is a commodity base because it's oil based, and last year was, had skyrocketed compared to the other years.
And I think between 2018 and 2021, it was around $8 or $9 was the unit price. It'd be nice to see it get back down to that.
Oh, without a doubt.
And the funding for that, I think we have about $1.5 million come from the Capital Projects Fund. And do our utilities contribute to this?
Yeah. So as you noted, 1.5 is from our capital improvement plan, and some of that 1.5, those funds are from the state. They come from the liquid fuels tax.
So right when
it's from the township, but some of that money's come from the state to support us. And then the additional above the 1.5, those monies are contributions from the utilities. When they disturb the street, depending on the disturbance, whether it's one lane crosses into a second lane, there's variables, but they pay so much per square yard for restoration. We take those monies and we help pay for this.
That's, I think, a big complaint I'll get from residents is that, Aqua ruined the street or Pico dug this up. So they are actually paying money to get this, to get the repairs done. It's not like they just work in the area and then head off in the sunset.
No.
Yeah.
And when the prices were that $8 and something, their contribution would help us pay for part of our paving, part of the other lane. Right now, it's essentially they're paying for what they've disturbed, and we're paying for the rest.
And the liquid fuels tax, that's basically the gas tax. So when you're pumping gas into your car, part of that goes to a tax people get upset about, but actually it comes back to your tax dollars at work because it's funding the paving of the roads.
Right, you're putting gas in, you're driving that vehicle on the road, wear and tear on that road, so you're helping pay for that wear and tear that you've caused.
Someone asked me, if you go to all electronic vehicles, what would happen to the liquid fuels tax? Maybe it'd be an electric vehicle tax to go back onto the roads.
Well, that's a very big subject, and we've been watching that, and they're still trying to figure out how those EV drivers will pay for their fair of wear and tear on the roadways.
Yeah, probably a bigger conversation for a different time.
That would be a different time because it's quite interesting, but quite long.
Well, and unfortunately, we're out of time today. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Paul and I were happy to have everybody for another episode of Public Works Pipeline. And please do not watch Behind the Gavel.
Nope.